Welcome to the Bureau, the official podcast of the International UFO Bureau. Founded in 1957 and reimagined for today, we're fusing decades of discovery with next-gen tech to uncover the truth about unidentified anomalous phenomena. Join Executive Director Terry Keel, CEO Mindy Totfest, and Director of Research Melissa Madrigal. 3 generations, 1 mission: to investigate the unknown and bring the truth into focus. This is the Bureau.
Well, hi there, and welcome to the Bureau, where 3 generations of women come together to investigate the truth behind unidentified, anomalous phenomenon. So here we are. I'm Terry Lynn Keel, and I'm joined by my co-host, Melissa Madrigal, and our special guest tonight, Samantha Sheridan. Mindy will be back with us next week. So welcome, you guys.
Hi.
Here. Yeah. So I do want to mention that this week there were 2 really cool mentionable experiences that happened back in 1961. This week, Betty and Barney Hill's abduction happened. And so a lot of people are talking about that. And we are so grateful for Kathy Martin, who keeps all of that interesting information alive for us. And also 9/20 of 1977, going back a few years, the jellyfish UFO sighting happened in the UK. So always something going on, and I'm sure there's many others, but I'm just going to mention a couple because we've got a full show tonight, and we're really excited to get it going. So I'm going to turn it over to Melissa, who has a lot of information for us on this week in UFO history.
Hello. Okay, the first thing that we have is the Voronezh UFO incident in the Soviet Union. So children and adults reported seeing large glowing objects in the sky, followed by a red ball about 3 meters in diameter that hovered, vanished, and then reappeared. Witnesses claimed to see beings emerge from the craft, and the event remains one of the most famous Soviet air mass sightings. The second one is an active duty Navy officer, Senior Chief Petty Officer Alexandra Wiggins testified in recent hearings about witnessing multiple tic-tac-shaped UAPs off the coast of California while boarding the USS Jackson. They were first tracked on radar and then confirmed visually, including one emerging from the ocean and moving in coordination out of the water. Wiggins described it as a checkmate moment when his radar verification silenced doubters. And our third one is the Hellfire missile that just happened. Congress revealed a UFO of the US MQ-9 Reaper drone firing a Hellfire missile at an orb over Yemen. And the orb was struck but appeared to remain unharmed and continue its flight path despite the impact. We'll go ahead and turn it over to Sam.
Yeah.
Hello, ladies. Yes, I get to introduce our guest speaker tonight. So Darrell Clulow is the Assistant National Response Director for the International UFO Bureau. A member of the prestigious Explorers Club, Daryl is a PADI, open water certified scuba diver, and co-founder of the nonprofit Fin and Friends, dedicated to shark rescue and conservation. Professionally, he has worked as a technical director for major Las Vegas venues, including Bally's, Planet Hollywood, and Caesars Entertainment. He's currently the stage manager for Kelly Clarkson. Living in Las Vegas, Daryl brings a firsthand perspective on the recent Vegas aliens case and the growing UAP conversation, while also drawing from his own personal UFO encounter that ignited his lifelong interest in the phenomenon. So welcome, Daryl.
Yes, welcome.
Hi, how you guys doing?
Here he comes. There you are.
Hey there.
Hey, Daryl.
So glad to have you here. This is just really awesome. Yeah, Kelly Clarkson. Wow. She's excellent.
Yeah, we're getting ready to start more of her shows, her residency at the Coliseum at Caesar's Palace in November.
Wow.
That is awesome. She was my very first concert.
Oh, how very cool. Well, we'll get right into it because we know we've got a lot to talk to you about. We're so proud to have you as our Assistant National Response Director at IUFOB, and I can't thank you enough for all you're doing. And I just can't help but see that you've got a lot of guitars there behind you. And so you're also.
I wish I could say I played them all. I know about 3 chords. I handpicked specific guitars that I've always wanted. So
very cool. I'm a guitar freak. So, my husband and I. But anyway, very cool. So on top of everything else, you're collecting those. But tell us a little bit, Daryl, about maybe you could start by sharing a little about your diverse background, because you do have quite a diverse background, and from stage directing at Las Vegas, which I can't even imagine what that must be like. That is so totally cool. And you also work in the ocean conservation, which is another huge thing. I mean, that's really, and how does it all kind of combine for what you do with IUFOB?
I think just my years of doing what I do and having the enjoyment of the UFO realm throughout my whole life, it's kind of brought me to this point, because doing what I'm doing for the Bureau requires a lot of logistics, a lot of planning, a lot of interaction with people. And I think the entertainment business and the positions that I've been in have kind of allowed that. I mean, I've been in the entertainment business for 42 years and started out doing aerial fireworks for the Osmonds in Tempe, Arizona. That was my first professional show. And then I moved into doing touring, worked with different bands like U2 and Ozzy and Guns N' Roses. Once my son turned 5, I decided in '93 that it was time to get off the road and be there more for him. So I was able to get into radio, which was actually one of my first loves in high school. And so I did 5 years of rock radio at a couple Midwest rock stations. After that, moved to Las Vegas in 2002. Worked at the Rio in charge of the main showroom. Had the wonderful opportunity. I thought my years of touring and working with the big artists was going to be done, but I got lucky enough. We actually hosted Prince in our showroom for 7 months. Or we called it Club 3121. So I got the very esteemed pleasure to work very closely with him. Sometimes at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning when we'd be programming lighting, he'd wander in and we'd just sit and chat about nothing and just be guys for 3-4 hours. It was a nice different side to him. It was awesome. After that, I ended up moving to Florida to work at Disney World. I was a technical director with creative entertainment there for 5 years. Not being able to tolerate the humidity there, no offense, Florida, but I'm a Southwest guy, born in California, grew up in Phoenix, Arizona. I love the dry heat. And so it brought me back to Las Vegas. And that's when I started working for Caesars Entertainment. I was senior technical director for all 8 of our properties for 12 years. Then I decided it was time to try something different, and got the call from Kelly Clarkson's people and said, how'd you like to be our stage manager? And I said, sure, love it. Let's do this thing. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I don't know if you want to talk about Finn and Friends now or later, but we do have a charitable organization. I need to correct, just for legal purposes, that it's not a nonprofit. It is a for-profit charitable organization. So rather than people donating to us, we will be granting money to donate to nonprofits who are doing ocean research, cleanup, and shark conservation.
Oh, great. Yeah. And I am going to ask you about that in detail later on. So yes.
Sure. That's
well, Daryl, you've had personal UFO encounters that really shaped your interest in this field. Can you walk us through that experience?
I did. Yeah. It was funny. It was growing up in Phoenix, And my stepdad this was around 77, 78. My mom and I still cannot lock down the date or the day of when this actually happened. But my stepdad was a sergeant with the Phoenix Police Department, and we used to go out and do ride-alongs with him. And one night we were driving along with him, and he got a call from one of his officers, said, "Hey, Sergeant Clulow, could you turn to a different channel? I got a question about a report." And he goes, "Okay." So he changes it. He goes, "I need to know how to fill out a report about a UFO." And my mom and I like jumped out of our seats and we're like, "Where's he at?" And so we found out where he was. It was up in a suburb of Phoenix called Paradise Valley. So we went up there, and when we got to the neighborhood, everybody in the neighborhood was out on the streets, and they were all looking south towards downtown Phoenix. And his officer was there, and so we got there. So they started doing their investigating, they're talking to people. And my mom and I basically just looked where everybody else was looking. And from our memories, which are fading nowadays, we know there were at least 3 disc-shaped vehicles or whatever you want to call it, UFO, UAP. Probably they were somewhere over downtown Phoenix, so it was probably about 10 to 15 miles to the south of where we were. Everybody just watched them. The accounts that the people in the neighborhood said was when they all got home around 5 o'clock, they were hovering over their houses, and by the time we got there, they were over downtown Phoenix. So my stepdad called in and said, don't know what to do with this. And they gave him a phone number to call for, I believe it was probably the Center for UFO Studies at the time in Illinois. So he called and he gave them a report. They told him about how to use a quarter to determine size and that kind of stuff. I recently, probably a couple months ago, just contacted the Phoenix Police Department Records Department because I was trying to see if they had a copy of his report. And unfortunately, they came back and said, "We can't find it, but wow, this fascinated a lot of people in the records department." So they were kind of excited to do that. My mom and I were both card-carrying members of Ground Saucer Watch, J. Allen Hynek's organization. So, also growing up in the 70s, movies like Star Wars and growing into the X-Files and all that. I've always had the interest. When I got married and had my son in '87, life just got in the way. And I didn't know about organizations that were investigating UFOs. I just was fascinated with them. And so I just continued to enjoy them in the background. Fast forward, I have had the opportunity to investigate UFO reports for about 12 years all around the United States. And that's what brought me to the Bureau. I was introduced to it by a few friends who were in the, doing the investigating too. And they're like, "You really need to look at this organization." And here I am.
Well, we're glad you're here.
Yes, we are.
Me too.
Oh, Sam, we can't hear you. You're muted.
I think you're muted.
I think I'm muted. So,
This
no, I
isn't a
was just
Zoom
gonna
call.
say,
You don't mute.
right? I thought it was very cool. And we're both card-carrying members for the J. Allen Hynek group. Nothing like hanging out with your mom, investigating UFOs together. So.
And every time we talk, she lives in northern Arizona, and we always go and talk about all of this stuff. And I wish she still had our cards. I wish she still had the newsletters that we used to get. She's got none of it. So,
yeah. All right. Well, let's get into today's topic, shall we? Let's talk about the Vegas entity sighting. So, police body camera footage from April 30th, 2023 captured a green light streaking across the sky around 11:50 p.m. and at least 21 people from multiple states saw it. Many people reported the phenomenon, and around 10 minutes later, the Kinmore family called 911 to report two entities in their backyard and posted video footage of the entities. With you living in Las Vegas, you were right in the heart of the action. So can you give us a little more insight into what you've heard and what you found out about this case?
I can give you a little bit. I will say, as an investigator and doing this kind of stuff on a more scientific level, and the amount of reports that we get and we see in Las Vegas, I mean, that keeps George Knapp just going. I mean, it's just insane what we've got going on. I will say, my first inclination when I saw the reports was that I felt it was a hoax, simply because the family was truly controlling the narrative. They were not talking to George. They were not talking to news outlets. They were only posting on their YouTube. And it just looked made up. That was my first feels. I will honestly say I'm still on the fence. I do have a friend of mine who I can't say too much about, but he is very close with the two officers that investigated it and that had the body cam footage. They are still working on getting the unredacted film footage, the body cams. Nice. When they do, my friend's going to let me know about this and learn even more about it. But basically what I've been told is it's all circumstantial evidence at this point. Nobody has seen the unredacted stuff. Some of the unredacted stuff got out right away and then they pulled it. And now you see all the edited stuff. But what I can tell, I've got so many notes that he told me. I talked to him a couple days ago. I said, just tell me the things you know I'm allowed to say. And he goes, okay, here we go. So I do know that the officers, I did ask when they were doing the investigation back in the backyard, did they take photos of stuff? Because they reference and talk about the circle that's in the ground. There is also a half circle inside the circle. And what they found extremely interesting about it is that it's not like something that's been pressed in the ground to make a half circle. It's almost like something is there and it pushed the ground to do something. And around the half circle, it's almost like if you take a rock and you throw it in the water and you slow-mo it, and you see that it almost looks like a crown where there's points. Yeah. They said that around that half circle, there are points to this, and it's almost like whatever was there was lifting the ground as opposed to pushing the ground. So they're waiting for this redacted information to learn more about that. The officers didn't take any photos because they had tons of body cam footage. So they relied on that. And unfortunately, that all has been taken and they don't have access to it. So they're working on that. Let's see. So we all know the family was back in their backyard working on the cars. They heard the loud bang. We've seen the ring camera footage from different neighbors and stuff with the bright flash and the bang and all that. They weren't sure what it was. They went back in the backyard, and that's when they saw this entity and the circle and stuff. One thing that the officers did mention also regarding the circle, because when that all came out at the beginning, I went and I saw the stories where they were talking about that circle was on Google Maps a year ago, and I went back and I said, okay, I was just seeing point after point of it being put into a hoax. But what the officers mentioned regarding the circle is that there were nothing that a human could make on their own could make this. Now, they have large tractor tires back in the backyard that could do that, but there were no tracks leading to it or leading from it. So it's not like they could push one of those tires and make the circle. So that was interesting to the officers. They were uncomfortable when they went back in the backyard. They were uncomfortable. They were uneasy. They kind of had odd feelings. They don't have any hardcore proof. Again, all circumstantial evidence. But there are a number of corroborating testimonies from all of the family members and neighbors around there when they were all separated from the police or by the police. All their stories lined up. So to be able to create something like this, a 10-minute time frame from the time that it happened to the time the first officers arrived, it keeps me on the fence. We haven't seen that evidence yet that's pushed me. Maybe Melissa's got it, but hasn't pushed me over the fence. But I'm there. I want to believe. I'm in this business. I'm in this life. I want to believe. I find it extremely impossible that we're it. That we're the only intelligent beings in this entire vastness.
Yeah.
I think it's important
that's kind of
in this business that we keep a skeptical mind.
Yeah, it is.
Oh yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, one other piece that was interesting was that about 2 days later, a car with federal plates showed up outside their house and sat there for about a week with one person in there just watching constantly. The family called the officers because they kept in touch and said, "What's going on? Why is this person out there?" Gave them the plate number, and they're like, "That's not one of ours." So that is a federal license plate. So that's some information that he has been able to acquire that was safe for me to reveal. So hopefully there'll be more. He's hoping for those redacted body cam footage. So
very
well. I had even heard that maybe someone put up cameras outside the house too from an undisclosed.
So they did. So actually, Las Vegas Metro did put a camera out in their backyard, but that was because the family was complaining and filing police reports of looky-loos and people that were climbing over their fences trying to get in the backyard. So they put that up there as more of a surveillance camera so that the police could stop that from happening. That was mentioned in his briefing to me.
Just in case.
Well, that's not nearly as exciting as the Men in Black putting it up so they could see additional footage.
I think our officers have gray uniforms. So.
Okay,
Melissa, were you going to share any of that?
Yeah.
We are going to go through some things here.
Great.
Okay, so this is new findings from the Las Vegas Kenmore case. We're going to go through some slides here. So they kind of covered it. I'm going to go ahead and cover it again. To give background for those who maybe even just came into the show. This happened on April 30th in 2023. The Kenmore family experienced something that seemed to quite frankly scare them. The 911 call was placed by Angel reporting large beings in their backyard after they saw a green flash strike across the sky. Police responded within an hour, like they had said before, and one of the officers also reported seeing something fall from the sky that night. Now, I believe that Daryl already said this wasn't an isolated claim. More than 20 witnesses across Nevada, California, Utah, and Arizona reported seeing the same green fireball. The Arizona Meteor Society logged an object in the sky from the same time window, but the Kenmore family captured on camera wasn't a green flash at all. And the footage shows shadows and movement and what appears to be an anomalous figure in the backyard. The family's video was later reviewed by independent crime scene analysis Scott Roeder and was judged authentic. Now, in this case has been analyzed before, so why are we revisiting it? And again, the reason is simple: we have new findings. And so let's see. So starting, a recurring low frequency pattern inside the video itself was found, and that discovery connects Kenmore to much bigger questions that we're going to get to here in a minute. But before we move forward, This case has a lot to it. There's way more than we can cover in the short period of time. So we're just going to be covering a section, and then we'll save questions till the end, because I also know we need to get back to Daryl. So we're going to close this. And for people who haven't seen this video yet, we're going to put the video up. On the left is the, oh wait, let's back this up. This is the original video on the left that we have been given. On the right, I've zoomed up and gone back and forth for you to see the anomaly popping out on the right side of the video above the fence. So we'll let this play through.
Susi. Ay! Permisar! Carmen Varela, me calciles var eso. Kailo, cherro, que chili. Kailo, cherro. Kailo. Uy, chetar. Chili cow.
Agladel, paró.
Chili cow.
Paró cayó, sí le uní acá cada pared. Uní acá cada pared, Agladel.
Kai, cherro.
Diles.
Permisar, le sale.
Te escucharé lo que te camiona, Agladelo.
Kai, permisar, permisar.
Agladel, te
Pero permisar, porque no me llaman, cherro, que Carmen Varela no.
Diles, eso es lo mismo, subiendo para acá.
Kai.
Ande el camión, los conchadicas del camión. El segundo, de izquierda para acá, de cables.
Kai, cherro, chili cow, Agladel.
El concho, costelo, concho, chisitelo.
Kai, forklift o camión.
Yo te muero muy. Catelo, pegachari, palarlo, que te quedó con la. Palarlo, dile que a casa de hombre indique. Viene un show, o sea, picuchari, cuidadolo.
Chili cow, Agladel, que
Vaya, me dígale completico.
Kai,
Kai. Costelo, de que acá, dile que acá, callale, ahí yo muy pelón, sí, pelón, varón, pelón.
Ya, cherro.
Hinchalo, te adoro, dijeron de
Okay, that's the video. So we're going to go back here. Video we had to bring in. Okay, so at a glance, the clip that you're looking at right now does look ordinary. I have approached this openly with no target frequency, no hypothesis-driven hunt. Well, as I got deeper into reading, into repeating patterns, the repeating patterns emerged, and it was not something that I expected to find. It revealed itself in data, and that unexpectedly matched ties to a larger set of sightings. A repeating low-frequency structure became evident in the signal. Now, I reviewed the recording and the noted distinct early, mid, and late behaviors. An initial brightness rises and a mid-interval transition, and then a final motion surge. When I traced the light's behavior across the short sequence, it was clear that the source wasn't a random flicker. It rose and it fell in a consistent rhythm rather than messy jitter of a handheld camera shake. Now, that structure rhythm is consistent with features that I've documented, again, in other independent recordings. So let me go. Let's just go to the next one. There's so much different information. So the next one. So this chart shows how the color of the light shifted over time. At the very start, the hue was measured around 130 degrees. That's normal value for green light. Nothing unusual about it showing up here. Normal for this kind of report. What matters is what happens next. Within the first second, the hue drops sharply into a 90-degree range, which corresponds to orange. After that drop, the color didn't wander aimlessly. It stabilized in that orange region for several seconds before small oscillations and a final climb near the end. So the point isn't that the green was present at the start. That's expected. The significance is in the hidden shift from green to orange, followed by the steady plateau. That step-like transition matches the same kind of structured rhythm that I showed in the brightness chart. So the progression here is start noise, mid-interval anomaly, stabilization, human handling. And that stepwise sequence reinforces, again, what I showed earlier in the brightness chart that is structured and not random. Now, to go to the next slide, motion and time, I generated a motion trace to map how the scene moves over time. The graph separates the clip into 4 clear intervals. The initial startup spike, likely the camera repositioning or setup noise. And then we have a mid-interval window of, again, structured oscillations, a stabilized interval while motions where motion smooths out, and a final sharp rise that aligns with the camera being repositioned at the end. Now, during the mid-interval, the motion trace shows repeatedly wave-like oscillations, not the random jitter expected, again, from handheld recording. Those motion waves occur at the same time as the pulsing brightness and the color stabilization that we reviewed earlier. In short, motion, color, and brightness are coupled during this mid-interval rather than behaving as independent noise sources. I'll unpack the frequency behavior that underpins that coupling in the next few slides. When I translate the clip from the time domain into the frequency view, the coupling that you saw in the motion, the hue, the brightness becomes visible as a concentrated energy in the low bands. On this chart, the horizontal axis is frequency. Oh, we need to move this. I'm just thinking and not looking. So on this chart, the horizontal axis is frequency, and the vertical axis shows amplitude on a compressed scale. So both small and large scales can be seen. In the mid-interval spectrum, a stepped set of low-frequency components appear roughly at the low subharmonic bands, which build up towards the dominant anchor in a low single-digit per anchor, shown here at about 5 hertz. Now, that ladder and anchor pattern indicates a coherent stepped structure rather than an isolated spike. Importantly, I observed similar ladder and anchor patterns in other independent recordings, the Daytona Beach and Mindy Tot Fest cases.
Right.
Now, that's big here. That cross case alignment is why this is more than an oddity. It reads like a repeatable signature worthy of further study. It's what turns this from an isolated oddity into a repeated structure. In the next slide, to test reproducibility, I examined several windows within the clip's middle section. Each window shows the same temporal pulses, and when viewed spectrally, the same low frequency ladder reappears. And you can see stepped subharmonic content in the low bands that build up upward and converge on a single stable carrier and the low single digit hertz shown, again, 5 hertz. That ladder and anchor pattern repeats across windows inside this recording and is unrelated recordings as well. That repeatability is what distinguishes a reproducible feature from one-off artifact. Now, 2 quick reading tips here. The left axis on the left side, visually small bumps can represent large energy differences, and the peak near 5 hertz sits visibly above the noise floor, indicating concentrated energy that the rhythm the rhythm rather than incidental background. Now, moving to slide 9, I compared the visual brightness trace to the low frequency audio envelope. Plotted together, the blue line and the orange audio line show coherence. They move with the same basic rhythm during the middle interval. Now, crucially, they do not mirror each other perfectly, and the audio often pulses more strongly and sometimes leads, and the brightness can lag or decouple. That difference shows the visual pulses are not simply a literal translation of the audio track or an editing artifact. The channels are related, yet each preserve independent dynamics, which strengthens the interpretation at the visual pulses which strengthens the interpretation that the visual pulses are real and independent signals that share rhythmic architecture with the audio. Now, moving to slide 10, when I compare the 3 independent recordings, Mindy's public file, the Daytona encounter, and the Kenmore recording, these same ladder and anchor patterns appear. So you can see them next to each other. To avoid broadcasting exact internal measurements on the stage, I'm showing the overlap this way. So you can see the carrier rung aligns with all three cases, while the subharmonic comes from the ladder beneath it. For contrast, I included drone control.
Yeah.
As you can see here, and I think we're going to move. This is the drone control here. We always need a control case. So on the top is the Kenmore case. On the bottom, I've placed the consumer drone recording as one of the controls. The Kenmore spectrum shows a repeated set of low frequency subharmonic steps that visually build into a stable carrier in the low digit 5 hertz. The drone control, by contrast, produces only a short low frequency spike and then a flat baseline. There's no ladder, no converging carrier. That contrast, plus repeatable ladder, plus a carrier and independent UAP recordings versus the simple drone profile is exactly what strengthens the claim that this is a reproducible signature and not an ordinary device artifact. Now, our last one, this is a big question for a lot of people. And it's a reasonable question, is whether this kind of pattern can be coming from the recording itself. The answer is no. When a file is screen recorded or re-encoded by a platform like TikTok or YouTube, the original device metadata is stripped away. What remains is only generic code information. And that means no signal from iPhone or Samsung survives inside the file. Could the sensor itself introduce a rhythm? Consumer cameras do produce a flicker, but at 25, 30, 50, 60 hertz, tied to frame rates or power lines. What I'm detecting here is nowhere near that. That harmonics live in the 0.06 to 5 range. The perceptual and the natural resonance range, not the electromagnetic, not the electric flicker range. That's not a device artifact. That's a signal inside the phenomena itself. So what does it all mean? Well, the Vegas fence case confirms what I had already uncovered in the Mindy and Daytona case. There is a structured, repeatable, intelligent rhythm embedded in these encounters. The exact same 5 hertz frequency signature now appears in 3 separate cases across different states, different witnesses, different conditions. And the signature cannot be explained as a random flicker, camera artifact, or environmental influence. It aligns with documented military encounters, cases like the 2004 Nimitz incident, where pulsing emissions and abrupt impossible maneuvers were reported. Now, civilian analysis has now independently confirmed it. What we are doing here at IUFOB obviously is not looking at anomalous lights in the sky, where we are measuring a coherent system, one that behaves with precision, one that repeats across cases, one that may present propulsion, communication, or something else entirely. And while we don't know what its purpose is or what it's doing here, its presence is undeniable, and the pattern is too perfect. The signal is way too consistent. So let's go ahead and remove this down. And that is what I have to show you guys for today.
That was impressive reporting.
I know it was very fast. My brain was also moving very fast, tripping over myself. I wanted to get back to Daryl, and we could have spent probably 3, 4, 5 hours going over everything.
Yeah. Well, it's very good, and I will get back to Daryl. But thank you so much.
Yes.
That was really amazing. And
I do want to mention really quickly, because I hear a lot of people ask me, why is 5 hertz so important? Why does it matter? Put simply, the significance of the 5 hertz anchor is not the number alone. It's the context. Most common artifacts sources land elsewhere. Sensor flickers tied to frame or power frequencies in the 10s, like I said before, the 25s, 30s, 50s, 60. That the combination, the low single digit stacked harmonics, the cross case repeatability, it's not a pattern you'd expect anywhere.
Right.
We don't see this we don't use this in technology. We don't see this in nature. The military, from what we understand, does not use it. So it is anomalous, and that's what makes it so interesting.
It truly is very interesting. Yeah. Well, Daryl, so you're a member of the Explorers Club and a certified scuba diver on top of everything else that you do. My goodness. How have those experiences influenced your perspective on exploration and discovery of the unknown?
Oh boy. Well, my wife and I have been members of the Explorers Club for just a couple of years now. But it is an amazing organization that started back in 1904. That, and you can read it online. But it goes all the way back to presidents and just about every astronaut that has been in space or has set foot on the moon are members of the Explorers Club. Scientists, biologists, exploration. Our friend Josh Gates from Expedition Unknown is a member of the Explorers Club. So that kind of stuff, we've always been fascinated. I've always been a history buff, and I've always been fascinated with exploration and what's out there. I feel that we spend a lot of money on space, which is well needed. We don't spend enough investigating our oceans, and it's the ocean that keeps this planet and keeps humans alive. And what we have determined through our conservation stuff and through the Explorers Club is it needs our attention a lot more than it does. It needs cleaning. The animals that call it home need to be protected. And I would say that all of that is kind of also kind of ties in with my UFO UAP interest and experience, because there are so many, especially with the Nimitz and the Tic Tac and just recently the drone hit, or the hit with the Hellfire missile. So much is happening in the ocean, and only about 6% of the ocean has actually been where people have gone down and actually physically seen it. About 25% has been mapped at the bottom of the ocean. So, we all know about the Mariana Trench. We all know where the Titanic is, but there is so much more that we don't know. And with all of the stories that regarding USOs, crafts coming out of the ocean, going back into the ocean, traveling with no effort whatsoever, that is helping me along with my Explorers Club stuff and our exploration of the things that we're trying to do. And it ties in with our Finning Friends organization, with ocean conservation, because I think there's something down there. We don't know what it is, and we're all curious about it. I don't feel that they're all just coming from space. I think some have been here for a while, and they're down there, and I want to find them.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know if I want to go in a deep submarine, but I definitely want to see what's down
I know it's my first
thank you for
exploring
that.
these things, so I've got this all over the place.
We were jumping around a little bit there. So sorry, Daryl.
Oh,
Let's
that's
see.
okay.
Okay, Daryl, what ultimately drew
Yes.
you to become the Assistant National Response Director for IUFOB, and what excites you most about this role?
Well, I will say when I had several long phone conversations with Mindy, I was actually backstage at PH Live loading in concerts, and it was when she was available. So I stepped aside to have conversations with her, and that was back in November, when the organization was becoming something again, and I knew of her. And her reputation and her experience, and just having the opportunity to talk with her about the Bureau and possibly a place for me. This was when you guys pretty much just had your board of directors kind of in place, I think, and you were starting to bring on other people. I know some people who aren't with the organization anymore, they championed for me, and I became the first pro phenomenon response officer, so I get to carry card number 001. Even though I'm in my new title, and just through people coming and going, like you do in every business, I got the opportunity opportunity to actually, Terry, I think you called me. I was at home. I won't say where I was, but I was at home, and you called me like, "Hey, we have this opportunity, and I want to know if you'd like to look into it." And I'm like, "I'm there. Whatever you guys want, I'll do whatever it needs. Whether I've got the experience or not, I just know I want to be part of this organization because we are looking at the future and how we
Yes.
do things, and I just think that's vital, especially with everything that's been happening in the last 3 to 5 years with all the congressional hearings, with with congressmen now putting out video footage and not Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp always being the ones that get to drop this on us. To see that I mean, I watched that congressional hearing live, and I'm like, oh, what? Okay, game on. So I'm just very excited to be with the organization and to grow with it. We've been around for a long time, but we really haven't. And this incarnation is bigger, it's stronger, and it's just going to be amazing.
Absolutely.
Great.
Did I answer the question?
Yeah. Here.
You did. You did.
I get on a roll. Sometimes I don't know if I actually answer the question. So reel me in.
Great job.
It happens.
Well, it's funny too, like as you get into this field of UAP investigation, you meet, such a wonderful group of people. And so before Daryl and I even were a part of the IUFOB, we met at a field investigator training. So I am very happy to have Daryl to be working with. And Daryl, you assigned all the cases for us and, help me manage that because it is a very big job. And so I just want to acknowledge, how much work I know that is, and I appreciate everything that you do for us. So,
I think I'm like the second person to actually see every case that comes through, and it's pretty exciting. And
it is.
We've got a variety. I mean, they're all over they're international now. I mean, our name says it all. So keep bringing them, keep sending them.
That's right. That's right.
Yes.
All right. So I want to talk a little bit about Storm Area 51, that movement. So it was just revisited were you? Okay, well, good. I want to know a little bit more because it was just on that train wreck documentary series. So this is back in 2019, and the event gathered over 2 million responses on Facebook from those eager to attend. And from your point of view, what does this tell us about the public hunger for the truth around UFOs?
Oh, everybody's ready. I mean, we know that the government has been hiding things since 1947, and if it's because of military secrets, training, that kind of stuff, that's all fine and good. But the people of the world, let's just take it out of the United States. The people of the world, they want to know, and will it rock some things out there? Absolutely. But Storm Area 51 was. It was interesting. I will say I was not at the party. It's what it was. Party in Rachel. I was about 25 miles down the road at the Alien Research Center. There was a event called Storm Area 51 Base Camp. I think is what we called it. And a friend of mine who is friends with George, who owns the Alien Research Center. They caught wind of what this guy on Facebook was doing. Obviously, Rachel decided, the little alien decided to put something together on theirs. And so they said, well, we can do something here. So they spent all their own money, put a big stage there, had RV parking, a bazillion porta potties. George was out there. Jeremy was out there. We had live entertainment. We had booths. We had a booth out there, and just had the opportunity to talk to people. And it was fascinating that obviously when you have stuff like this, like the Roswell festival every year, you get the people that dress up and wear the goofy stuff. And we had a little bit of that, but we had a lot of people who came that just were curious and interested in knowing more about, is this real? And nobody was there at least in our area, in the Storm Area 51 base camp, nobody was there to talk down about any of it. It was all very curious stuff. Like I said, I didn't get a chance to go to the Rachel one. I heard there was a good crowd there. They had a small stage. A couple people decided they were going to storm the back gates, and they didn't. You know, the team at Area 51 they were ready, and they basically just stood their ground, and people just kind of did goofy stuff and, you know, did their TikToks and their Instagrams and stuff. But it was more or less a fun event. I know they've talked about doing it on an annual basis, but it just hasn't happened yet. But I had a good time.
Yeah,
I feel the planet is ready. I think these congressional hearings are getting better. The first one was phenomenal with Fravor and Grush and all those guys. The middle one I was okay with. I thought it was a little lackluster, but I was happy with it. I'm just happy that everyone comes along. This last one with George and those guys and dropping the video was just a game changer.
Yeah, good heavens. Well, you know, we're getting up to the top of our hour, so I just want to ask you real quickly. You've balanced your careers both in entertainment and UFO research. And do you think that the work that you're doing in Las Vegas with your show productions, do you think that helps you think differently about the perceptions and the stagecraft and what's real versus illusion with what you're doing? We've only got a couple minutes to answer. But.
Yeah, it does. You know, doing this my whole life, I know how to make something massive out of something small. You know, that my very first concert I ever went to was in time with Kiss, and I was there till the end, and the lights came up, and I started seeing the roadies take the front of their set apart, and these giant speakers on stage, and here were these little amplifiers on milk crates, and I'm like, oh. So that sparked my interest in the entertainment business and that type of illusion stuff. So yeah, I mean, it's kept me going, and it keeps my scientific thought process in check.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, so true. You know,
Yeah.
I can't believe that we're already at the end of this time for this show. It's just amazing. And I have so many more questions we all do to ask you, but we'll have to have you on again, I guess. That's just how that's
I'm happy to. Anytime.
Because time is of the essence. So and again, thank you, Melissa, for your excellent presentation as well. And I do want to say next week we will have Jeremy Ray with us, and he's with IUFOB. He's on the board of directors. Excuse me. With also he has crash retrieval background expert work that he's done, and he's worked with BASS program, and he's had personal sightings. So we want to talk to him. Definitely, I can't wait to hear all about what he's got to share with us. And I know, Melissa, I think you had a closing question. I want to try to get that in real quick.
Yeah. What do you think that the Vegas alien sighting tells us about how the public will react when undeniable evidence of UAP contact is finally confirmed?
Right. Send us your answers in chat. You can email us. And if you've got something to report, please report to report.iufob.com. And as always, I do want to thank you all for joining us tonight. It has truly been a pleasure to have you with us, Daryl. And visit the International UFO Bureau.com and follow us on social media to stay connected. And until next time, stay curious and stay courageous and never stop demanding the truth. See you again next week. Bye-bye now.
Thank you for joining us today on The Bureau. For exclusive content, follow the International UFO Bureau on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. From yesterday's sightings to tomorrow's revelations, be sure to tune in next time right here only on KGRA, Sundays at 7 p.m. Eastern.